Hi everybody, Shawn Holsinger here from Holsingers Fly Shop. Today we're going to tie an emerger pattern. This is a beginner style pattern. We're going to tie it as a sulphur. We got springs coming up here while I'm tying this video. It's right around the corner. The sulphur hatch is going to be hot and heavy. So I wanted to come up with a few different patterns. I like to have, the full spectrum, everything from nymphs to emergers, wet flies, and the dry flies, because you never know what they're going to be taking when you're on the stream. So it's nice to have a good mix of everything. I've been looking for a good pattern to tie the emergers, and the snowshoe hare is what I keep coming up with, using a snowshoe hare foot. So we're going to show you that. Pretty simple, real easy to tie with, and it's a real great product. It floats real well. It's a lot better than CDC. CDC is kind of a one fish fly. Sometimes you're lucky you get two. You have to keep working with the CDC to keep it dry. This is just an easier way to attack, an emerger style fly. So, gonna show you how to tie this. Couple simple patterns. Another thing we wanted to show you was some different products that we use in our shop that we carry. We started carrying some Nature Spirit dubbing here lately. This is really good stuff. So we're gonna use some Nature Spirit dubbing to tie this with, and the snowshoe, which we just started carrying in the shop. And everything you see here in this video you can get in our shop to tie the fly. Okay, like I said, this is a beginner style fly. Pretty simple one to tie. We're just going to start out with like a curved caddis scud hook. I'm just using 1120 Daiichi here. 1130 is a good one to use on this pattern. Starting out with some brown thread and just starting it up by the head, running it back towards the tail, towards the curve of the hook here. And the next thing I'm going to use is some brown Antron yarn. Now the brown Antron yarn we're going to stick out here as a tail, but what the tail is actually representing in this is it's an emerging fly. Okay, so what's meant by is emerging is this fly is emerging out of its nymphal casing as it's floating to the top, it's coming to the top, and this you're actually fishing this into film right under the surface. And this is the shuck, or the casing, like you see a cicada casing on a tree. When the cicada crawls out of the casing, this represents that. It's going to be like a brownish color that is going to be coming out of the casing stuck to its butt as it's coming up out of it. So that's what we're representing here with the brown Antron. I'm going to run it just a little bit around the bend there, and then we're going to come up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this back, cut it at a pretty sharp angle, and that'll allow me to wrap it down here pretty tight and get a nice flow, so there's not a big hump on that, and it blends real well together. Now I'm going to come back here towards the bend again, and the next thing we're going to use is I'm going to use some Nature Spirit extremely fine natural dubbing in sulphur yellow. Okay, we're going to put it towards the back of the fly, and I'm just going to, this is like super fine dubbing, which, like a dry fly style dubbing. It blends on here really, really nice, really thin, and we're just going to dub this onto our thread, keeping it kind of thin, actually keeping it thin. And I want to get, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it just a little bit back away there, and I'm actually going to wrap my way back to the Antron. So my first wrap is actually right in front of the Antron, and then we're going to build this up, and we're going to keep it nice and tight at the back and keep tapering it up, get it a little bit bigger as we go up, and just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. Don't want it too thick, but you want a natural taper to it. You want it to naturally get bigger as it gets up towards the head. Now I got a little bit too much here, so I'm going to pull some of this off. And if you get a little bit too much, sometimes it helps to back it out, or a wrap or two, and wrap it back down. Now there, I got a really nice taper on that and build up a nice body. Now you'll see I stopped about a third of the way back. Okay, that gives me lots of room to work on the rest of the fly here. The next piece, what I'm going to use is my rabbit's foot. This is a snowshoe rabbit, and this is in a light dun color. And I'm going to zoom out here for a second. Okay. The snowshoe rabbit, the part that you're going to use is the part down here on the bottom, okay? You can actually, some guys will actually pull the feet apart and cut them. I'm going to here sooner or later as I start to trim this down. I want to get into more fur. I'm going to cut them apart and it'll be a little easier to get to. But what you're going to use is these parts right in here and right in here. The nice, I don't know how to describe it to you, but it's thick fur. It's a little bit coarser and it's a little bit curly. You can almost say curly. That's what's going to make the really nice hair. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a calf tail if you use calf tail to tie posts on your parachutes. But this here stuff repels the water really well. It makes it really ride on top real nice. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this, pull some of it out. You don't need a lot, okay? I'm tying this on, I forgot to tell you there, I'm tying this on a size 14 for my sulphur. I'll tie it on 16s and 14s. I do like a little, I don't go any bigger than a 14 for sulphurs. But I do like a little bit bigger. The early hatch, it always starts out bigger, and it starts out right around a 14 and then progresses to get smaller as it goes through the season. But I'll start out with 14. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this patch and I'm going to zoom back in here real quick. We're going to take it and pinch it in our fingers. Okay. And we're going to pick out the longer guard hairs so we kind of even it up. You see how by doing that I took the longer ones out, even them up all to the same length. I'm going to switch it around. Now we're going to pull out the fluff at the bottom, just like you do with any other, kind of hair that you're stacking or whatever. Okay, now we got it pretty well even, nice and even here. We're just going to set this right on top. And I want this to go just a little bit into the shuck. Okay, just past the end of my body and just a little bit into the shuck. You can see where that's sitting there. Okay, now I'm going to hold it on here and I'm going to switch fingers. So now it's sitting right on top of my hook. I'm going to make about 2 soft loops, pinching them in by fingers there. Make 2 soft loops, making sure I keep it on top of the hook. And then we're going to tug it down a little bit, make like 2 more wraps, tight wraps. Okay, this keeps it on top of the hook. Pull it back a little bit, make a couple wraps in front, and come back and wrap it down tight. Now I'm good and secure there, okay? Now I'm going to take and bring my scissors in. I'm going to cut this at a sharp angle again. Okay, so I trimmed that all off there. I got a couple extra hairs I need to trim up. I'm going to finish wrapping this down. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm on the top, and I want to spread these fibers out just a little bit over the back. Okay, you can see how it's nice and even on both sides of the hook there. And now I'm going to come in. Next thing I'm going to come in with is some sulphur orange colored, the same extremely fine natural dubbing from Nature's Spirit, and this color is the sulphur orange. I like my head on it to be a little bit darker than the tail, so that's why I'm switching colors and I'm going a little bit darker. And we're just going to dub this on. And like I said, I want to keep it pretty thin as I can. Get it dubbed on there nice and tight. And then we're going to start wrapping, and I want to wrap back towards, and I want to wrap this down. What I'm going to try to do is pull it back in behind and come up over top of my snowshoe. That way I'm sure I wrap the snowshoe down so it lays down over nice. And then I'm just going to wrap back up to the front and make a whip finish here. Just about 5 wraps is all it takes. Trim off your thread. Now, this shuck here I made just a hair long. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors, and instead of cutting it, I'm just going to kind of trim it. And you know, it makes it uneven length when I trim it like that. You see how it's not a nice sharp edge. You got some of the fibers there. You can see it a little bit better in reflection of my finger. How it doesn't make it a nice sharp edge, it makes it a little bit uneven, which is what I like there. Very, very simple way to tie an emerger pattern with a snowshoe hare. So I hope you enjoyed this pattern. Like I said, all the material we carry in the shop. Give this Nature Spirit dubbing out. I really, really like it. It's really nice stuff to work with, especially this fine. It's really great for dry flies. And of course this is practically a dry fly. It's fish in the film right under the surface. You'll be seeing them take it, you know, mainly more or less just like you see it take a dry fly, because they'll be coming up to swirl for it. So give this thing a try, and I'm sure you'll catch some fish on it here during the sulphur hatch. Hope you enjoyed my video. Thanks again for watching. I'm Shawn Holsinger.